This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com.
What's up, sports history fan? Dana Augusta here of the Historically Speaking Sports Podcast. Ever wish you can get behind-the-scenes access to the Hockey Hall of Fame and dive into the untold stories that shaped the game? Then you need to check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories Part 2 by Eric Zweig. Eric's latest book is packed with wild, unexpected tales from epic rivalries and game-changing moments to quirky incidents like polo injuries and snowblower mishaps. Eric Zweig's impeccable research and passion for the sport of hockey will whisk you through the NHL's early years, the origins of the Three Stars tradition, and how hockey first hit the airwaves. Plus, you get fresh takes on legends like Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Hall, and Joe Sakic. Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 is available now wherever you get your books. Grab your copy and get ready to dive deep into the heart of the game.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to award-winning Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network. I am your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast where we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old school basketball to a new school audience, and today we bring the story of Clair Bee, one of the most influential coaches in basketball history. As I have said in previous episodes, one of our missions with this podcast is to keep alive the memories of basketball figures from the past that have been mostly forgotten, and I want to make sure that we keep those figures in the conversation. Bee is mostly known for coaching at Long Island University in New York, otherwise known as LIU. He was the coach there from 1931 until 1951, and he won 82% of his games at the university, and that is one of the highest winning percentages of all time. Just to put that into context, let us look at one of the most successful university-level coaches in history, Mike Krzyzewski of Duke University. Coach K only won 79% of his games at Duke. Again, Clair Bee won 82% of his games at LIU. From 1935 until 1937, his team won 43 games in a row. His teams also won the 1939 and 1941 national championships. The man was a proven leader and winner. Now, when it comes to basketball coaches, Clair Bee is near the top in terms of his contributions to the actual game of basketball. Every new thing in basketball was started by somebody. There was somebody who shot the first one-handed jump shot. There was somebody who made the very first hook shot. There was somebody that first used the dribble in order to exploit a loophole in the original rule about not running with the ball. Over the entire history of the game, both coaches and players have come up with new ideas about how to play the game to give themselves an advantage in winning the game. Well, with Clair Bee, his contributions are going to be very obvious, and this is why he is in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. One of the very first episodes we ever did was on the creation of the 24-second clock in the NBA, which has led to organizations from all over the world to adopt some form of a shot clock. In that episode, I shared the story of Danny Biasone, who was the owner of the NBA's Syracuse Nationals, and the guy who came up with the idea of the shot clock to speed up the game and make it more exciting. Now, one of the things that I did not mention in that episode was Clair Bee, and that is a shame on me. While Biasone was definitely the guy who came up with the idea and the creation of the prototype for the actual clock, it was Clair Bee who was there to help him develop the clock. At the time, the NBA was trying to come up with an idea to make the game more exciting, and Clair Bee was a head coach in the NBA with the Baltimore Bullets. So he, along with the other head coaches and owners, were trying together to come up with some sort of an idea that would speed up the game to make it fair for everybody and sell more tickets. As Biasone came up with the idea of the clock, it was Clair Bee who helped him to develop and test his idea. Bee was absolutely instrumental in refining Biasone's idea. And one of the things that they did to test out the clock was to hold a test game in the summer. Biasone volunteered his own team, the Nationals, to participate in that test game. And there, they used the shot clock exactly the way it is used today. And it was a big hit with the owners and also with the players. The clock all but eliminated the stalling tactic, which had become popular in the NBA. Prior to the shot clock, if a team had a substantial lead, they would just hold the ball for as long as they could. And I mean, in many cases, the point guard would just stand there holding the ball for minutes at a time, just letting the clock run out in order to protect their lead. The shot clock was so successful that the entire league saw a jump in scoring and, more importantly, a jump in ticket sales. In the entire history of the NBA, there have been 15 teams that have gone out of business, but they all went out of business prior to the shot clock. Since the shot clock, not a single NBA team has ever gone out of business. That was an enormous contribution to the game of basketball, and Clair Bee definitely had his hands involved in that development. Now, do you remember how I just said that every new idea in basketball is done by somebody first? Well, Clair Bee also invented the 1-3-1 zone defense. It was something that he had worked on and perfected during his days at LIU. It was a stifling defense that many teams just could not figure out. This is just one of many reasons why his LIU teams were consistently one of the top teams in the entire country for about 20 years. LIU was a juggernaut from the mid-1930s to the mid-1950s. Clair Bee is the one we have to thank for that. Well, this is a good place to take a break, and I will be right back with more on Clair Bee.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row One catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row One Pictorium Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.
Hello, sports history fans. I'm Ross from the podcast Pigskin Tales. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment, but first, let's dive into today's sponsor, just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by handwriting relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched into words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. My favorite on the site is Bryce Harper 2021 MVP year. Because I'm a big stats guy, I think that's one of the coolest things ever. Check it out. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved one this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those who you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for 15% off at artofwords.com.
Welcome back to the show, and let us continue with our story on the great Clair Bee. In addition to his contributions in helping to develop the shot clock, he also came up with the 1-3-1 zone defense, and he is also the person who came up with the 3-second violation. One thing that basketball people recognized even in the first half of the 20th century was that when a big man camps out under the basket, it really slows down the game and the overall movement of the players. So Clair Bee came up with an elegant solution to that problem. He came up with the idea that an offensive player could not stand in the lane for more than 3 seconds, and then he needed to step out of the lane before coming back in. It forced guys like Mikan and later Wilt Chamberlain from just camping out under the basket and using their height as a significant advantage over the other team. They had to stand outside the paint and receive a pass from there. Or if they did go into the paint to receive the pass, they then had to shoot it rather quickly. But in any case, it moved the big man slightly away from the basket and created more cutting lanes and other movement under the basket. It really opened things up again for some better basketball. Now, until I started researching this episode, I had no idea who had come up with the 3-second rule, but now I know. It was Clair Bee. When I found that out, I thought to myself, Clair Bee again? It seems like this guy invented everything having to do with basketball. Now, of course, I am just exaggerating, but you get the point. So I asked myself this question: who contributed more to the game of basketball outside of the inventor himself, James Naismith? And I'm starting to think that it just might be Clair Bee. But all of these contributions to the game are still only part of the story. Yes, he developed and refined the shot clock. He came up with the 1-3-1 zone defense. He came up with the idea for the 3-second rule. And those contributions are enormous when you look at all of them together. Now, consider the fact that when he was at LIU, he was not just the basketball coach. He also coached the football team for the university for 3 years, and he coached the baseball team for 5 years. The man was coaching almost everything at the school. Now, can you imagine any school doing that today? Having the same person coach the basketball team, the football team, and the baseball team in the same academic year? Of course, things were different back in the 1930s and 40s. While it is very impressive that he coached 3 sports, it was actually not that unusual. Back then, it happened more often than you'd think. So let me add one more thing to the list of accomplishments of Clair Bee. After retiring from coaching at the end of the 1954 season, he had already begun writing a series of sports-themed novels meant for young readers. He wrote 24 novels in the series about a high school athlete by the name of Chip Hilton. He actually based the physical appearance of Chip Hilton on NBA Hall of Fame point guard Bob Davies. His goal in writing these novels was to teach kids lessons about commitment, perseverance, leadership, and simply doing the right thing in all situations. And our main character was the quarterback of the football team, the point guard of the basketball team, and the star pitcher for the baseball team. And the coach of all 3 teams was Coach Henry "The Rock" Rockwell, who was based on Clair Bee himself. These were more than just novels about the star athlete coming through and winning the big game novel after novel. In one particular novel titled Hoop Crazy, the team struggled with the idea of accepting a black player who wanted to join the team. Remember, these novels were written in the 1940s and 1950s. Clair Bee, the author, was about 20 years ahead of his time in trying to teach lessons about acceptance to young readers. In another novel, there was an Asian character who was often isolated from the rest of the team until Chip convinced the team to accept and include all of their teammates. These novels were incredibly popular and still are sold today. About 2 years ago, my wife asked me if I had ever heard of the Chip Hilton series. She was interested in purchasing some of these books for my then 10-year-old son. Of course, I had heard of them, and I talked about them when I did an episode on Bob Davies. These are some really great novels for young readers, so if you have a young reader in your home, consider getting some of these Chip Hilton novels. Now, my younger son has now read most, if not all, of these Chip Hilton books. So not only did Clair Bee make an incredible impact on the game of basketball, he also made an incredible impact on young readers for the last 80 years. That man had a lot to give. So remember, when you are in a conversation and people are talking about the greatest coaches in basketball history, do not forget to include Clair Bee in that conversation. The man was one of the best to come along. Well, that is it for today. Join us next week when we share another story from the history of basketball. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of Sports Yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find short historical posts, and I'll also announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care, and see you soon.
The heel gets the heat. The babyface gets the cheers. But the jobber gets, well, the job done. And speaking of jobbers, Barry Horowitz wasn't there to win titles. He was there to build them. By selling every move, every storyline, and every new star that stepped into the ring. He was the secret sauce. And now, he's the headline in his new book titled, Wrestling is My Gimmick, My Life on the Wrong Side of the Three Count. This memoir is a deep dive into wrestling's most underrated position, and the man who made it an art form. Whether you're a fan of wrestling, a fan of sports history, or just love a great story, this book is for you. Again, that's Wrestling is My Gimmick by Barry Horowitz. Grab your copy today before the count strikes 3.